What would you say the differences are from here to formal education setting?
To formal education, I think the key differences really are, firstly for us, it's about the size and the scale, and I think those things are pretty overwhelming for the type of learner that we've got. I know Fiona's probably spoken to you about the profile of the learner that we're working with, and the issues that they're dealing with. So here you've got a nice, small, manageable scale, very nurturing. That's kind of key, and kind of off the record, although you're filming it, you're writing it down. But I think from the main difference from school is that our focus, while it's education is important, and that's why we're here and that's what we're doing. In actual fact, that kind of comes second to the emotional support and the development of emotional intelligence that they've not developed, or that that they're behind on, in that kind of sense. So in some ways, it's about a lot of it's actually rehabilitation and recovery from trauma and from infant and childhood trauma, and it's also about managing current situations that they also find themselves in. So some of them are in pretty grim situations as it is. So really, where does education sit in all of that? It kind of comes next. And I think one of the things that we sort of believe here is actually there's a push to get some level of qualification so that they can get into college at some level, which we try to do. But in actual fact, what I really kind of want to leave them with is not necessarily qualifications, but some seed of believing that they can learn, and they can learn down the road at some time. Even if they come out, which they quite often do, despite everything we try, they come out feeling like failures because their peers have been to mainstream and they've got GCSEs and these guys haven't. In actual fact, the feeling of like, well, I did achieve something and I know that I can, if I want to, I can return to it. And I think for some of these guys it will be about coming back to it 2 years later, 5, 10 years later maybe, but just having some seed that makes them feel like it's not the end, they haven't failed, and they've got time to recover or close the gap on their peers.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Is that right?
Yeah. And also, what would you say the benefits are to informal, here rather than formal education?
Well, I think specifically for our learners, it is about trauma recovery, which they're not going to get that kind of support in mainstream. So I do think that's part of it. From our perspective, I guess the flexibility to deal with these young people as individuals rather than as a group of, like a hive mind in a class of 30 that you've got, and there's nothing you can kind of do about that. They've got to reach targets in schools. They've got a group of 30. They've got to take that 30 on a journey really without any deviation because they don't have time, whereas we do. We have time for that deviation, from moving away from what they're doing at that moment, from changing tack. And I think that's really important, providing you can offer that within a structure that's consistent and that they understand the boundaries of that, and you build that security in, but actually being able to respond to circumstances at the time, the terrible morning they've had, the things that have happened the night before, things that schools just cannot cope with. That they're the areas that I think we specialise in and do well.
Thanks.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good.